What is more dangerous, the man who wields a sword, or the one who can shatter your mind without lifting a hand? Power does not lie in armies, nor in riches, but in the unseen mastery of emotion. Most men are slaves to their anger, their fear, their desire, puppets whose strings are pulled by those who understand the art of restraint. Imagine a ruler who does not tremble when threatened, who does not burn when insulted, who does not reveal desire even when consumed by it. Such a man is untouchable, and his silence commands more than any cry. Now ask yourself, what happens when this power is turned against you? He who wishes to command the world must first conquer himself. For what use is a man who claims authority over others if he trembles before the storms within his own chest? The fiercest armies can be broken, the most cunning strategies undone, by nothing more than a leader's lack of control over his temper, his fear, or his desire. A man who cannot master his own impulses will forever be mastered by those who know how to stir them. The enemy who learns how easily you are provoked already holds you in chains, though no iron binds your hands. To govern oneself is the highest art, because it demands a war against an adversary far more persistent than any rival. The adversary within. Anger rises without warning, fear creeps in during the silence of the night, and desire whispers in moments of weakness. Each of these forces promises release if you surrender, yet each surrender enslaves you further. Consider the man who erupts in rage at an insult. He imagines himself strong, but in truth he has given his enemy the key to his very soul. Consider the man who trembles when threatened. His terror only emboldens the hand raised against him. The man who begs for what he craves is no different from a starving dog waiting for scraps to fall. To rule others requires that you first learn to feel the fire of emotion without letting it consume you. Anger may rise, but you must not let it drive your tongue to speak recklessly or your hand to strike without thought. Fear may visit, but you must wear its mask as calmly as you wear your own face, so none may suspect its presence. Desire may tempt you, but you must know how to delay gratification, for patience is a weapon far sharper than haste. He who rules his own blood rules with a steadiness that others cannot break. No matter how they plot, there is danger in believing that passion itself makes one powerful. Many fools boast that their anger makes them feared, or that their sorrow makes them deep, or that their joy inspires loyalty. But passion without mastery is weakness disguised as strength. It burns brightly for a moment and then collapses into ashes. True power lies not in the display of emotion, but in the hidden knowledge that you could unleash it at will, yet choose not to. It is restraint, not eruption, that terrifies an opponent. The man who cannot be provoked is the man who seems untouchable, for he is bound to no one's strings. You may conquer cities, armies, and kingdoms, but unless you have conquered yourself, you will remain vulnerable to the smallest insult, the faintest fear, the most fleeting desire. To master others, you must first be the master of your own soul. Only then will your power be unshakable. To bend others to your will, you must learn the art of shaping emotion not as a servant, but as a weapon. Men are not ruled by logic, though they flatter themselves by believing it so. They are swayed by their passions, moved by appearances, deceived by gestures that stir their hearts. If you can remain unmoved while making others believe you are aflame with feeling, then you possess a tool more dangerous than any blade. For when a man thinks you are angry, he adjusts his behavior to appease you. When he believes you are sorrowful, he opens himself in sympathy. When he imagines you overjoyed, he lowers his guard. Yet in each case, the emotion is not yours, but his, projected upon the mask you wear. The secret lies in detachment. You must train yourself to feel nothing while showing everything. To rage when you are calm, to appear weak when you are strong, to feign affection while your heart remains untouched. This is the practice that separates the ruler from the ruled. Men reveal their own vulnerabilities by how they react to your display, and in exposing themselves, they hand you power over them. You need not strike them directly. They destroy themselves by their own emotions, while you remain composed, watching from above. Never forget that most men cannot distinguish between genuine feeling and its imitation. They are too eager to believe in what they wish to see. If they desire your approval, a feigned smile enslaves them. If they fear your anger, a carefully staged outburst binds them more tightly than any decree. If they seek your pity, a moment of false sorrow disarms them completely. The truth of your heart matters little. It is the theater of emotion that sways the masses. But caution must guide this power. To overuse it is to risk discovery, for even the most artful masks can crack when worn too long. The danger lies not in wielding emotion as a weapon, but in forgetting that it is only a weapon. If you begin to believe in your own performance, if you let the mask become your face, then you have deceived not others but yourself, and self-deception is the quickest path to ruin. The man who learns to wield emotion without succumbing to it holds in his hands the strings of those around him. With a glance, a sigh, a pause, he can summon loyalty, fear, or desire in others, shaping their choices without ever appearing to command them. This is the dangerous power of emotional control, to move the hearts of men while your own remains untouchable. Words are weapons, but silence is a sharper blade. When men expect an outburst and you answer with nothing, their certainty dissolves into unease. They prepare themselves for anger, for excuses, for explanations. But when none come, they are left to wrestle with their own thoughts, inventing punishments harsher than anything you might have spoken. Silence is not the absence of response. It is a calculated denial of satisfaction. It leaves the offender dangling in uncertainty, forced to wonder whether you are indifferent, plotting, or waiting for the moment to strike. A man who answers insult with rage gives away his control, but a man who meets insult with silence unsettles his enemy far more deeply. For silence is ambiguous, and ambiguity is dangerous. It forces others to reveal more than they wish, to keep speaking in the hope of piercing your composure. Each word they add is a confession, while you lose nothing. They grow restless. You grow powerful. What is unsaid weighs heavier than what is spoken, for it cannot be countered, and it cannot be undone. Silence also has the virtue of patience. In moments of tension, the one who speaks first often exposes weakness. The one who can remain still, refusing to be hurried, forces the other to reveal their desperation. This is why the composed silence of a leader commands respect more than the loudest speech. Men instinctively admire restraint, even if they resent it, for they sense in it a discipline they themselves cannot achieve. But silence is not always withdrawal. It can be a signal, a presence, a pressure. In a council chamber, a leader who listens intently without interrupting unsettles his advisors, who begin to doubt their own words. In a negotiation, a pause too long stretches the opponent's confidence until it snaps. In personal dealings, silence after betrayal stirs more dread than open reproach, for silence hints at hidden knowledge, concealed judgment, or delayed retribution. And men fear most what they cannot see. Still, one must use silence as deliberately as one wields words. Too much and you appear indifferent, too little and its weight is lost. Its power lies in timing, in knowing when to withhold your voice so that the absence itself becomes a presence. Used well, silence makes others prisoners of their own imagination, while you remain the master of the moment. The dangerous power of silence is that it speaks louder than words. When a man restrains his emotions, he forces others into a state of endless anticipation. They cannot predict his next move, nor can they find comfort in knowing where they stand. This uncertainty is a leash stronger than chains, for it keeps their minds revolving around him, always cautious, always waiting. Anger released gives relief, but anger withheld breeds unease. Grief expressed invites sympathy, but grief concealed inspires suspicion. Desire confessed makes one vulnerable, but desire hidden leaves others desperate to discover its object. By refusing to erupt when they expect it, you deny them the closure they crave, and in that denial, you bind them to your silence. The weak man is easily read. His emotions spill out in every gesture, every word. His enemies know when he is angered, when he is wounded, when he is pleased. He may believe this makes him sincere, but sincerity is only another form of submission, for it gives others the map to his heart. The restrained man offers no such map. He stands as a riddle, forcing others to guess, and in their guessing, they betray themselves. They tread carefully around him, uncertain whether his quiet hides forgiveness or vengeance. This restraint creates dependence, for men prefer certainty, even if it is harsh, to uncertainty that leaves them unsettled. They will return again and again, seeking a sign of your approval or a glimpse of your reaction. They will modify their actions, soften their words, adjust their behavior, all to pierce the veil of your composure. Without realizing it, they become servants to the very restraint that denies them satisfaction. The greatest authority is not always gained by striking, but by holding back the strike until the moment you choose. Those who can wait without breaking their silence hold dominion over those who cannot endure the weight of anticipation. Every second of restraint turns into pressure upon the other, bending their will while strengthening your own. In this way, self-control becomes not merely a shield, but a weapon, subtle, patient, and inescapable. Understand, then, that the mastery of restraint is not weakness, but a form of dominance. The man who does not erupt commands greater fear than the one who does, for his silence suggests depth, calculation, and possibilities too vast to measure. And so, in holding back your emotions, you do not diminish yourself. You make others smaller, as they twist themselves in the shadow of your composure. Restraint is the invisible hand that makes men cautious, deferential, and ultimately dependent. A man who frees himself from the storms of sentiment rises above those who are forever tossed by them. Most people are prisoners to their emotions. They flare with joy when praised, collapse in despair when ignored, and bristle in anger when challenged. Such men are easy to move, for their hearts are like leaves in the wind, shifting with every passing gust. But the one who remains unmoved, who stands calm in the face of insult and indifferent before flattery, gains an aura that others cannot explain but instinctively respect. Authority is not granted. It is perceived, and perception bends most easily to the figure who appears beyond ordinary weakness. When men see you untouched by passion, they begin to imagine that you are guided by something greater. Wisdom, destiny, even fate. They may resent your composure, but they cannot dismiss it, for it places you on a higher plane. The man who erupts in fury lowers himself to the level of his enemy, but the man who refuses to descend seems untouchable. In this distance, authority is born. For those who cannot control themselves will always yield to those who can. The leader who is not swayed by tears is respected more than the one who consoles. The ruler who does not bend before flattery is feared more than the one who indulges it. Even in private dealings, the man who refuses to let affection cloud his judgment holds greater sway than the one who loves without measure. Men may claim to value passion, but what they obey is composure. What they admire is the figure who appears immune to the tides that drown them daily. Yet this emotional distance is not coldness, but strategy. It does not demand that you feel nothing, only that you reveal nothing. You may sense anger, sorrow, or temptation, but you must bury it beneath an exterior that never wavers. For appearances rule the world more than truth, and to appear above emotion is to stand above men. From this height, you can grant your approval sparingly, making it precious. You can withhold it entirely, making it feared. The dangerous power of emotional distance is that it transforms perception into obedience. Others begin to treat your composure as strength, your silence as wisdom, your restraint as authority. They elevate you by their own imagination until you need not demand respect. It is given freely, for you have become larger in their eyes than life itself. Once you command your own emotions, the weaknesses of others lie open before you like cracks in stone. Men believe they hide their passions, yet anger flushes their faces, jealousy sharpens their words, and fear betrays itself in the smallest tremor of voice. To the man who has mastered himself, these signs are as clear as ink on parchment. And once you see where another is fragile, you hold him in your hand. His anger can be provoked until it blinds him. His envy can be inflamed until it consumes him. His sorrow can be deepened until it leaves him powerless. Where others are driven by their storms, you become the storm itself, directing their course without ever stepping into the rain. The beauty of this mastery is that it requires little force. You need not strike directly, for they strike themselves. The man ruled by his pride will ruin his own, cause if you only wound it subtly. The jealous man will destroy his alliances if you merely hint at a rival. The fearful man will surrender opportunities if you only let his terror grow unchecked. They unravel while you remain untouched, and it will seem to all the world that their downfall was their own doing. Yet the true art lies not only in exploiting weakness, but in knowing when to spare it. If you expose every flaw too quickly, you exhaust the usefulness of the man before you. It is better to let him remain in your orbit, ruled by his passions, while you quietly draw profit from them. In this way, the man who cannot control himself becomes a resource, a weapon, or a shield, depending on how you choose to wield him. His chaos becomes your order, but the greatest power of all lies in contrast. When others burn with fury, and you remain still, your composure appears godlike. When they collapse into despair, and you stand firm, you seem immortal. When their desires lead them into ruin, and yours remain hidden, you appear invincible. Their weakness magnifies your strength, and without ever declaring your superiority, they accept it as truth. To master your emotions is to step outside the cage that holds other men. To master theirs is to hold the key to every lock that binds them. And when you can shape their anger, their fear, their desire, while remaining untouched yourself, you cease to merely compete with men. You rule them.